I did a 10x on my Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then actually 10x my portfolio again using this strategy, investing into altcoin.
Have you thought about moving overseas? Because a lot of crypto people move to places like Dubai.
It's one of those considerations that you have to consider when you start.
Do you orange pill people into Bitcoin first, or do you sort of go with a staggered approach into like altcoins as well?
Well, I do talk about the whole big picture.
I want to live like a poor person phase where I just want to sell things I don't even need. I don't want to accumulate just rubbish around me. And so that's basically what I'm doing. I just sold off a car. I was like, nah, I'm not going to hold that anymore. It's just money just sitting there. I sold the car and it was like a dream car. Just on like 2 weeks ago, a commercial property went unconditional. I'm selling. So that's now sold. So I'm like getting rid of now properties as well. All thinking though around building more Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yes.
I'm Matthew Fraser and this is Crypto Collective. After making millions with Amazon and e-commerce, I realized that if I was starting again today, crypto would be my first choice. I'm here to help you take your first steps and build real wealth. Ready to set yourself up for life? Let's go. First question I guess I want to start off is, are you still driving the Aston Martin?
I am, yes.
How's that
my
going?
My favorite. Yep, it's beautiful. I love my Aston Martin. It's a Formula One Aston Martin, so it's a bit of a head turner, that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely a head turner.
Yeah.
I'm just stuck with a four-door for now because, Mercedes at that, but it's a nice car. I've still put the seats in the back. I don't know how you go putting seats in the back. Have you got another car as well, though?
It's actually only a two-seater, so I discussed maybe baby seat in between the seats. No, I'm joking. But
you've got another car, right?
So I haven't actually. Yeah, another car. Yep.
Good. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations on all your success as the co-founder of Digital Wealth Group. It's just an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. I just would love to start with, I guess, your journey. Like, how did you even get into crypto and understand, I guess, even Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for having me firstly, Matthew. It's lovely to be here. And my journey into crypto was quite unexpected. I was actually an entrepreneur. I was building and scaling businesses, and I actually got accepted into an entrepreneurship training in Northern Europe. And it was there, it was held by 3 to 4 mentors at the time, and they were coming and going, talking on different subjects. And I was having lunch with one of the mentors, and he actually was on the phone buying 5,000 Bitcoin at a time in multiple purchase orders. And I was sitting there thinking, what is this Bitcoin? And this is back in 2016. And then he started talking about this cryptocurrency, this thing called crypto, Bitcoin. He was buying all this. And I thought, what does he know that I don't? So I started reading anything and everything I could about cryptocurrencies. At the same time, my brother was working up north on the FIFO, but basically doing fly in and fly out, working on the mines. Mm-hmm. And he started looking at crypto at the same time. So we decided to join forces and learn everything we could about this new asset class, and then we started to invest. And that was all the way back in 2017. That was my beginning introduction to get into crypto itself. I was actually building martial arts skills.
Oh, no
so I have a black belt in Kung Fu. My dad, he's a Sifu. He looks like Mr. Miyagi. He's got a big white beard. He's got the authentic shoes and the white hair.
Oh my God. Is there anything with the layers are peeling away? She's actually a Kung Fu master. Is that right? Is that what I was saying? Kung Fu master?
Yeah, Kung Fu. My dad's a Kung Fu master, and I've done Kung Fu for good 25 years.
Holy smokes! I've actually done some martial arts myself. I did Kyokushin.
Nice.
Kyokushin karate, yes, for about a decade.
Wow.
Funny enough, just down in Palm Beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just Palm
so
Beach.
Close.
And I'm just actually right now thinking about whether I should get my 2 young girls, 5 and 10, and getting them into martial arts as well. But so martial arts has now built up your strength, your mindset, I guess, which is the perfect thing for being in the crypto Bitcoin space, because I dare say you've got to have a lot of mindset to weather the storms, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so this has now led you into this new business. You said you were doing sort of martial arts, but now you've moved into the Digital Wealth Group. Can you talk about that and what does it do?
Yeah, so I founded Digital Wealth Group with my brother back in 2017. So we started to see just everyday people getting wrecked in the space. So a lot of people making really critical errors, blowing 100 grand just like that on wrong websites, plugins, phishing sites, just trading apps and bots and this and that. And we just said, you know what? There's actually a strategy that you can apply where you don't get wrecked. And so we actually just very organically started helping, the neighbor, our friends, family, our parents. We helped our parents get financially free. They actually walked into a bank with a check for $1.3 million and paid off all their debt within after one cycle.
No way. What cycle was that?
2017.
That itself is an amazing story.
I know. And so, for them, it was life changing, but everyone around us sort of started asking, how are you guys doing it? You guys aren't working that much anymore. You have this great lifestyle. Your parents have set up, and what's going on? So we actually just started helping people. We were going to libraries, pubs, bingo rooms, anyone with a TV and a HDMI cable. And we were talking about Bitcoin and how to get into this asset class. One thing led to another, and we started to get invited to do more formal speaking. And then we realized no one's actually providing education. So my brother and I said, let's actually start teaching and offering one-on-one. So we were one of the first companies to ever offer one-on-one private instruction on how to enter this market safely. And one thing led to another, and now it's one of the biggest educational companies in the world. We've got students across all of the planet. We've got 30 different countries represented.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a coaching session happening every minute of the day.
You're
So
joking. This
it's
is phenomenal.
very busy. Yeah, it really, and it was just from literally just walking, helping the next door neighbor, driving to houses, setting people's treasure wallets up, to just one thing led to another. But there was such a demand. And we were just doing it. And one thing led to another, and here we are.
Who would have thought, though, that back then, that you, in 2000 and, what do you say, 17 or something, or even 16, when you first discovered this, you would end up with one of the biggest, I guess, wealth creation businesses in the world talking about crypto.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But let me ask you, though, like, when you first came into the scene, what gave you the confidence, though, to actually part with, because this, you must find this when you're talking to people, right? You're trying to, I guess, orange pill them. Do you orange pill people into Bitcoin first, or do you sort of go with a staggered approach into like altcoins as well?
Well, I do talk about the whole big picture. I mean, the fundamentals, looking at what's behind this. So obviously that gives people a lot of confidence. So the bullish catalyst, the Trump pro-crypto government, the change in regulatory landscape, all of these sorts of things gives people a bit of a comfort, peace of mind. And then, of course, I talk about diversification. So not just, you buy Bitcoin and you something like Ethereum, and you're conservatives, but then you mix them in with more speculative, slightly medium to higher risk cryptos. And then you have this nice balanced portfolio where you're not sort of over positioned in losers or under positioned in any winners. So that's really where we start. But Bitcoin's obviously, I say it's like the billboard for crypto. It brings people to this space, and then we slowly bring people through that journey into the altcoin world after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, if we go back, then how did you get the courage? Because obviously you're helping other people, but you can do it now because you've done it. And you can see the fruits of your labor as well, right? Based on on the correct decisions that you've made. But in the very beginning, how did you know that this was going to be the right thing to put your hard-earned money into?
Good question. So, I started with about $2,000 to $3,000, and I was so nervous. I was skeptical. I didn't understand this, and I just slowly started learning. But then I started to see, well, firstly, my mentor was buying 5,000 Bitcoin, and that gave me a lot of confidence. When I saw him doing multiple orders for 5,000 Bitcoin, I'm thinking,
something's going on
maybe
here.
if I just buy one or two, then, that's not going to be that risky compared to what this person's doing. So let's just see what happens. So that was my first bit of confidence that I had. But then I started to see that it was the technology itself was so disruptive. Like we saw, to, the horse and cart to the automobile, from gas to electricity, from print to the internet, all of these major disruptive technologies came into a world where it was basically misunderstood until the education caught up. And so, we did see a lot of misunderstanding. People hated crypto. We used to have people basically throw rotten tomatoes at us back in the day to say, this is blasphemy.
You're
How
crazy.
dare you talk about this rat poison thing called Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And, but here we are. So, to be honest, it was research. It was starting small and then working big and letting the market show me. So I invested little bits, started to see my altcoins really start to take off. Neo was one of those examples. I put about $1,000 into Neo, turned into over 100 grand, cashed it out for about 26 Bitcoin. That was one of my first big wins. So the market itself actually gave me the confidence. So I didn't really have to sort of edge too slowly in. It really showed me what it could do, and that matched the research I was doing at the time, and I was then able to really just leap forward head first into the deep end.
Wow, there's so much in that, Sydel. So is your strategy right now, you personally, or I guess in this journey, has it been to invest into altcoins, see some high growth in those, hopefully, you picked the right ones,
Yeah,
and then
right,
rotate that into Bitcoin?
Yes Almost in the reverse. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, we would invest heavily into and get that first big run up. So obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum historically have always gone first. Then we see that value rotate into the altcoin market as alt season comes later. So what I would do is I would grow my Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then I would see that, do 5 to a 10x sort of multiplier. And then I would move that across into the altcoins on cryptos that I knew later in the cycle would perform better. So rather than investing in altcoins too early or not knowing really which ones would take off as we move closer to that market top period, I would sort of wait, then roll that profit into more speculative assets later in the cycle, and then see that have a multiplier on my portfolio. So this is how I did a 10x on my Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then actually 10x my portfolio again using this strategy, investing into altcoins.
Wow. And so is that basically the strategy that you talk about now with your clients?
Yeah, that's correct. So we talk about a balanced portfolio. So we don't want to be over invested in losers and under invested in any winners. So we diversify across growth sectors, new blockchain, AI, DeFi, even some meme coins in there. And then we hold, a section in Bitcoin and Ethereum, or if it's a bit too late in the cycle, we sort of drop Bitcoin for now and go for sort of cryptos that can potentially give us a bit more of a run for our money in this market at this point.
And so ultimately then, Sydel, is your game plan, because I've got my own game plan, right?
Yes.
And so
yes.
I'm interested to find out other people's game plans.
Game plan, yeah.
So it would be to build up sort of a Bitcoin portfolio ultimately, and then hold that for dear life into the future, as you would say, or is just use altcoins and Bitcoin to build up more fiat currency essentially to use on things outside of the crypto space?
Good question. I actually have a strategy for exactly both of those things. So I do like to accumulate Bitcoin in the crypto winter as soon as we see that market bottom kick in, typically a year after the market top. That's a great time. I've always historically bought lots of Bitcoin at that time, lots of Ethereum. And then that's one strategy. But yes, I aim to then, take the profit out at the market top and roll it into slower growing assets, your precious metals, collectible artwork, property. So
you've got some Picassos around the house, is that right?
No, well maybe, but no, but I actually collect lots of beautiful Australian artwork, actually, Aboriginal, right? Indigenous artwork. Okay. Yeah, beautiful collectible pieces. And that's my sort of store of value type pieces that I have. Also precious metals collector, and I like to hedge into a few different things.
But
predominantly, property as well. Yeah, so we buy sort of like hobby farms, and so I have a land banks with my family. We created this, so we buy land banks around Australia, and we sort of go from holidays. One holiday in one, next holiday in the other. So Easter here,
that sounds
Christmas
horrible. How do you do it?
We'll get on the Can-Am and drive around in Marin farming at night. Yeah, I know. But it's actually changed so much about life. Like crypto is this concept of financial freedom everyone chases, but financial freedom is sort of sits at the top of this. It's an umbrella that actually encompasses so much more. It's freedom of our time, what we choose to do. Our true wealth is our time, and so it's given freedom on so many levels. And when we can tick that money box, so much in life changes. I mean, I'm sure you understand that in your position. Is it so much changes how we work, the decisions we make, the time we spend with people, who we hang around, all of these different things. So much of it changes.
It's interesting you talk about building up this land bank, because in Australia, obviously property is so big, right?
Yeah,
it's ingrained into people's psyche in Australia. You want to buy a house, and then you want to sort of start accumulating investment properties along the way. And I've done that. Like I bought my first property at 21, and then I built up a few when I was in my 20s, etc. And just in case you don't know, just in recent years, I went and was selling on Amazon. So the way I made my wealth was actually through Amazon and Shopify. COVID was really big for me because everything was moving to online space. So I made like bazillions of dollars through that. And then what I did is I then started buying up more like commercial properties, right? Just even around the 𝗕𝗜𝗧𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗍 area. And then I moved into Bitcoin, okay? And Bitcoin and altcoins as well, mainly Bitcoin though. But as I've gone down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and like I'm just absorbing so many books, and Michael Saylor is a big influence on me as well, because I have a car collection as well. So I just sold off a car. I was like, nah, I'm not going to hold that anymore. It's just money just sitting there. I sold the car, and it was like a dream car. I was like, nah, don't want that material possession anymore, gone. And then I just on like 2 weeks ago, a commercial property went unconditional. I'm selling. So that's now sold. So I'm like getting rid of now properties as well. All thinking though around building more Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yes.
It's interesting because I heard someone else as well who's sort of in your position, and they were like, no, I'm going to sell some crypto and buy more property. I'm like, what shivers? Am I doing something wrong? Because I'm getting rid of the properties.
No, I'm on your page. I'm actually exactly on your page. I'm liquidating real estate and looking to accumulate and roll not majority of that into Bitcoin at the right time, because I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's the best performing asset, despite the years that it's obviously capitulated,
Right.
the market's capitulated. It is the best performing asset of the decade, so it makes so much sense. And now we have institutions rolling in. The foundation is so strong. It's the most demanded crypto in the world, and it will, that those dips, the pullbacks that we get during the crypto winter will become less and less. So I believe that next pullback in Bitcoin will be one of the best buying opportunities of the century, in my opinion. I'm exactly on your page in terms of
Okay, so I'm not sort of on my lonesome here, just like liquidating properties.
No, I see your logic. I've had many penny drop moments exactly like that, where I'm thinking, hold on, do I need this anymore, that anymore? What about if I was able to scale my wealth to an even more significant level by using these types of strategies and knowing, actually studying Bitcoin? To me, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, because when I sat down and I literally just started doing spreadsheets, just working out the numbers. I don't think many people really think about the numbers, right? They're like, oh, we'll just buy property and then we'll just have it.
Yeah,
and then
right.
you go, well, hang on a second, like
term?
properties, let's say property does 10% per annum, right? Let's say on a good average, right? Which it doesn't even do that. But on a good average, let's say 10, and you're now going to compare this to Bitcoin, which is going to, in my humble opinion, probably do an average compound rate over the next 20 years of probably 50%. That's my opinion. I'd be interested to see what you think. And so when you do the numbers, you're like, why on earth would I hold this in this depreciating asset that's going to cost me money? I have to look after tenants.
I've got to
as well. Repaint it.
Maintenance and
yeah, I would never sit down now hold residential property.
I'm in the same opinion.
No freaking way, because the governments now, it's basically a sin now. The Australian governments now think you are a criminal, right, if you hold residential property, because you're somehow out to screw the tenant.
Yes, I know. It's the tenants have all the power, most definitely.
Tenants have all the power. There's all this sort of government regulation and taxes and things like that. And I just got another land tax bill the other day. True. You probably get land tax bills. Freaking hate them. It's like, what are the land tax bills?
What for? But then, you sell the property capital gains tax, and then you got land rates and tax, and then all the utility bills, everything. Yeah, I know.
So now this episode is going to become why not to buy property and why to buy Bitcoin. That's what it's going to end up becoming.
Yeah.
But that said, I want to discuss something interesting, because I have a wife. Okay. And what I've found is that new people that come into the space, generally, if they've got a partner, it's not just their money. Okay. So it's not just their decision. They've got to converse with their partner and say, hey, look, I've just met Digital Wealth Group, for example, and we think we should put some money into Bitcoin.
Yes.
If the other person's not on board, then it's going to be a big not happening.
Yep.
And so in my journey, what I found was the success, though, and I think this is true for other people, is I had a lot of success from my Amazon business, let's call it that. So when I've then gone to my wife to say, hey, look, let's now put money into Bitcoin, because I had wins on the board making financial decisions, it was an easier pill to swallow. Right?
Yes.
And then ultimately that led to, I've now transferred a year ago, actually, all of my superannuation. Every single cent is converted over to self-managed super and put into Bitcoin. So that's all I hold. And I buy Bitcoin every single month from the salary that the PAYG super. Now, do you do something similar to that? Do you have a self-managed super fund set up as well? And how do you sort of allocate that? Do you allocate to Bitcoin?
Yes, definitely. So I DCA into Bitcoin all the time, and exactly access the super and put that into crypto. Otherwise, it's just sitting there doing nothing, earning minimal. It's just dead money. Why not put it to work? So you've got an asset class that can dramatically scale that and get much bigger returns. That's exactly what I've been doing. And obviously I live and breathe crypto, so I can take this risk on myself. I understand the risk I'm taking. Mm-hmm. People look at me like, I'm crazy. What do you mean you're going to sell $5 million of property or something like that and put it in, or $6 million of property and put that straight into Bitcoin? I'm like, without even a doubt in my head. So this is my approach.
So what would you say to people then, Sydel, who are, again, they're looking at you like you're crazy because you're going to pull this money in, but you're talking about putting it in in today's dollars, right? Bitcoin's today's price. What would you say to those people who think that the market has topped and they're thinking Bitcoin's too expensive, we can't buy it now?
Well, I mean, obviously people are going to put a little bit into Bitcoin and they say buy $1,000 of Bitcoin, the entire price of Bitcoin has to double for them to even make a double on that money. But still, you know, so it's a heavy crypto to lift from this point forward. You know, there's a lot of lifting to go. But if you still think compared to traditional markets, you might get, say, 5, 10, 15% traditional markets. So I say, you know, Bitcoin already will, from this point, still potentially outperform what we would see in traditional markets. And to me, there's too much positive news to say we're anywhere near the market top. And also the sentiment in the market does not reflect where we are. So if we're so-called at the top, where is all the euphoria? Where are these types of emotions going? So there's more fear and uncertainty and doubt than any other type of emotion at the moment. It's very mixed. So I believe, you know, we've got a long way to go. There's too many fundamentals. And from a historical, cyclical point of view, we're nowhere near that market top. We're still months away from that potential market top. I mean, this is obviously all speculation, and retail hasn't even fully returned back yet. So we've still got a lot of the retail market to return. We're only about 60, 70% of the retail market of even the 2021 cycle. So I believe we've got a long way to go. So anyone looking to get into Bitcoin now, it's just going in with your eyes wide open that, you know, we're slowly approaching that market top. Will Bitcoin go to around 150,000 US? That's sort of my prediction. Mm-hmm. That means we potentially have another 50% where we are now, you know, so great. That isn't a fantastic ROI, in my opinion, relative to other assets. It's just, where do you put your money? If you're a little bit more risk adverse, you might put that on something that hasn't yet moved, that has the potential to move a lot more than something like Bitcoin. So it's really just comes down to the individual investor.
Yeah, because I would say, I've sort of flipped the script now too, which is that people say only invest what you're prepared to lose. But I would say if you're buying Bitcoin, only put money in that you're not prepared to lose. Right? Because it is that store of value now. You know, I saw a video this morning of a guy who was talking about he didn't buy any Bitcoin at all. He's only bought into these random altcoins. Why? Because he has purchase price bias, right? Which is like, I can buy this altcoin for 0.00001 of a cent, as opposed to Bitcoin now at roughly nearly 100,000 odd US dollars. So do you see that when people come to you and say, Sydel, why would I buy Bitcoin for 100,000 US when I can buy
1,000 of these coins for a fraction of a cent? Not necessarily, but I do see the argument. I do see the logic in that. People think they're getting more bang for buck, but it isn't really about that. And that's very much a noob's point of view into the market. To me, it's more like a dollar figure, and a lot of people, you know, they'll put too much money on the wrong cryptos or something like that, or they'll buy 200 altcoins thinking one of them's going to boom because they've, you know. So we see all sorts of things. We see people come with a couple of hundred, and I always say, you know, holding anywhere between, say, 10, 15 is probably a sweet spot from my experience.
Right, 10 to 15. And I just want to...
And equal weighted.
I know you slipped it in there before, Sydel. You just put it in there, and you did put a price prediction in there. And we'll say it once here, folks. Digital Wealth Group, Sydel has put a price point out there, 150,000 USD. We're going to hold it to it. It better get there. But I'm sure you've sandbagged that price, right? You're like, yeah, that's like a bear case, you know, might get to that.
It is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hopefully it gets to 500,000 in this cycle, you know. That's not a price prediction from me. But in the price predictions range, though, obviously I've seen 150 all the way to 500, depending on who you speak to. But I think you make a really good point, though, before about, you know, the regulatory environment right now is just so strong. Like when you were trying to, you know, orange pill people back in 2017, the stuff that was going on back then would have been totally insane. Now you can basically go to people and say, look, the crypto President Trump is in. He's now changed the SEC head, so they're now a crypto-friendly administration. You've got, I mean, even just something local, which I talk to people about, is that AMP just recently spent $26 million on Bitcoin to put into their pension fund. Right, that's in Australia. Peter Dunworth, have you met Peter Dunworth?
No.
He's a great Australian guy, and he has just sort of leaked it out recently, Sydel, that 2 out of the 4 major banks are already in discussions about putting a framework in to custody Bitcoin, which I think is super, super powerful. What are some of the great things that you're seeing, I guess, with the change of, sentiment coming out of the US?
Well, firstly, the reflection in the market. I mean, it's bringing in a lot of confidence. It's bringing in more liquidity into the market. It's bringing in new investors that were never previously there. I mean, the ETFs have already consumed 1.1+ million Bitcoin, more than the actual Satoshi original wallet. So that's a whole market that actually never existed before that is now into crypto. So one of the positive things is, you know, it's mainstreaming crypto. It's opening the doorways to people that never had the confidence or they were still a little bit skeptical that now, all of a sudden we have a pro-crypto government, Trump's talking about crypto, maybe I can actually get into this asset. So there's this silver lining to what I say non-custodial centralized ownership that, you know, governments talk about and institutions talk about it. The silver lining is that there's this tidal wave of capital coming, and the idea is to be on the right side of that wave before we really do hit that adoption where everything is, all this news is built in. It's about actually seeing what's coming and positioning ourselves prior to these sorts of movements. So for me, I just see a lot more adoption, a lot more acceptance, more liquidity, and then we're just going to see Bitcoin be consumed more and more into things like corporate treasuries and strategic reserves and national state level adoption. And how long's a piece of string? And to me, that the timeline is extremely bullish, it's extremely positive, and we've got such a long way to go. And the market constantly shifts, but the opportunities slightly change, but they're still just as amazing as back in 2017 in a totally different way.
Yeah, I think now though it's like a better time than any other time. Like if you were sitting on the sidelines before because you weren't sure about whether, you know, the government was going to ban it or something like that, now it's like that's all off the table, right? It is full steam ahead.
Off the table. Yeah, it's like the traditional giants of finance are looking at crypto. It's like, you know, you see Lord of the Rings with that big mortal eye that swings around. It's like it is so focused on crypto right now, and that is just it's exactly what we're sitting with at the moment. There is no going back. This is a runaway train. It just keeps moving and steam piling ahead. And I was saying last night, I was actually doing a university lecture on cryptocurrencies last night, and I was saying, you know, that there is no going back anymore. It's not a matter of if. It was never a matter of if. It was always a matter of when. Years ago, we were talking about institutions coming in, that we would see mainstream global institutional level adoption. This will bring a tidal wave of capital. And now that's exactly where we sit. And I remember those days in 2017 where people were just sitting with their arms crossed and, you know, this is absolute.
This is a big scam.
This is scam. And people said, this is rat poison and all sorts of, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But the smart ones listened. You know, we had people in the audience putting in a couple of $100,000 into Bitcoin. It was $1,500. And we've had people email us years later saying, we heard your talk and we were too skeptical. We should have listened. You know, and we would have been retired by now. We would have had financial freedom.
Well,
but, you know, now they're investing.
Yeah, let me just touch on that, Sydel, because this I think is so powerful, is the fact that, I mean, good on you for doing what you're doing, because so many people who become successful, they become multi-millionaires and they've got the big house and the cars and everything, but they're not like giving back. Right. And the way I see is what you're doing is you're actually saying, hey, look, here's someone who has actually been there, done it. I've retired my whole family. I've got an incredible financial position now. I've got the freedom, which is ultimately what we all want. And now you're able to actually educate people on how to do exactly what you've done because you've been through the trenches of doing that.
Being through, the ups and downs.
Yeah, and I think that's just so powerful. And because I made a joke, not a joke the other day, but I said what was happening was I spoke to my accountant and he was talking about self-managed super. And he said that if you're under a certain dollar amount, you have to go see a financial advisor to basically get approved. I think it's under 250K net. And I sort of made the comment, said, what? Someone has to go and see a financial advisor, right, who's probably earning a wage of $100,000, they're struggling to make ends meet, and they're now meant to tell someone else how to succeed in this Bitcoin or this financial space. I mean, is that a freaking joke or what?
I know, it is. I mean, this is the thing where I always say if it's meant to be, it's up to me. You know what I mean? If it's meant to be, it's up to me. And no one is going to really craft that reality more than my own self. And if I see the bigger picture, I'm putting in the education. You're right. What does it mean that someone who doesn't have any understanding of crypto have to comment on that journey, or, you know, that is not in the, say, financial place that you want to be, to comment on your financial path forward? So that's where I always believe that it's about time we just, you know, bring it back to ourselves and create what it is that we want to do. And obviously with education.
Yeah. Hey, just quickly, if you're ready to dive deeper into crypto and Bitcoin and build real wealth, join my free crypto collective community. It's where I share exclusive insights and strategies and live discussions to help you succeed, whether you're a beginner or scaling your portfolio. Click on the link in the description and join us today. Now back to the episode. Now, they always say that you should definitely follow people who have made mistakes before, because they've learned from those mistakes. You know, you've been through the trenches. Can you tell us some of maybe one of the biggest mistakes that you made in this crypto space and what you learned from that?
Definitely. There's been a few. Okay. Obviously, we all learn our stripes in different ways. I remember in the 2021 cycle, I had multiple alts significantly performing well. You know, some of them had done 100x's, 1000x type returns. I was sitting on a portfolio close to 20 million at that point.
Yeah, just
it's
stop
all
there.
profit.
Just stop there, Sydel. You just brushed over that number. $20 million. So you were basically just looking at your, I don't know if there was apps back then. Was it an app? A crypto app?
Yep.
So you're looking at your screen and there's $20 million on there.
Yep. And again, it's this paper money until you cash it out, isn't it? So.
And did you at that point just think, oh, maybe I should just cash out 20 mil? Did that go through your head?
No, well, I guess, that at that point, yes, absolutely. Should I cash out all 20 million? Maybe I only cash out a little bit. It'll keep going up. Some of these cryptos are set to go to ABC prices or, XYZ prices. So I'm going to hold on a little bit more.
I could become a billionaire.
Yeah. And it's a part of that journey. And sometimes the emotions are stronger than the logic. And we're sitting there looking at these numbers and thinking, well, it could go up to 25. When it gets up to 25, I'll pull 3, I'll pull 5, I'll start to shave 5%, 10% of the profit. But had I gone back now, I would actually go, I'm going to whip out 50% of that, 60% of that right now. Because where on earth are we going to sit on 1,000x gains, 100x gains and not take significant profit? So whilst huge profit was taken out of the market, I do believe I could have taken significantly more money and then leveraging that money between the bull cycles. So I would say emotions, definitely emotions. And sometimes the last minute emotional chases, maybe someone who you even trust a lot in cryptocurrencies, get on this trade, the emotions start firing. Oh gosh, I don't want to miss that one. Okay, let me have a look at it and get on it without actually doing the research. Next minute you're on it, but then you didn't really, there's an emotional component again to it. So I have found anytime there has been an emotional component to any of my investing or profit taking has always led me down the garden path. And some of the best decisions I've made have felt the worst at the beginning, meaning I'm not sure about this and it's going to take a while and will this happen? They've always turned out to be the best ones, but the worst ones have been, oh my God, I've got to get on this. The FOMO's, kicking in and off we go. And it happens to the best of us. I mean, it's the nature of the crypto industry, especially when you've got, trusted investors around you that you've invested with for years also in your ear. I mean, it happens to all of us. So that's been, take more profit. Take more profit is my advice. Don't let emotions run the show. And profits are only paper profits until they sit in your bank account. 20 million means nothing until it's actually 20 million in a Westpac or a NAB account. So,
yeah, it looks good. 20 million on the screen looks good, but it's not.
It looks good. It's nice to screenshot.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned FOMO. I mean, even I suffer from FOMO. I mean, every waking moment for me, I know you're going to say, God, this guy's nuts. But every waking moment for me is, how can I get more Bitcoin? How can I get more Bitcoin?
I can see you, grabbing things around the house. We don't need this swap meet, Bitcoin. Do we really need this random statue anymore, Bitcoin?
So I'm not joking. I've been selling stuff because I like to go through this phase where look I've got.
That's funny.
I'm in a good financial position. Put it that way. I've got a car collection and multiple properties, whatever. But I still go through this phase of thinking, I just want to live like a poor person. I just want to pretend I'm poor, so I don't kind of get ahead of myself.
We're on the same page. I've been thinking the same thing. I mean, what if I just scaled right back to then take a giant leap forward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I mentioned one of the cars I saw. I just put another car up for sale. I was like, I don't really need this other car. I've got a nice car that I'm driving around anyway. I don't need 7 cars. But one of them is a dream car. And if anyone who wants to know, it's a Subaru 22B. Dream car. It's a $400,000 Subaru. But
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A classic.
It's total classic. Yeah. Do you know 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗧𝗘𝗖𝗓?
I do know that.
You know the name. He's the lottery guy, right? Yep. He's got now he's like a whole nother level, but he actually has a car collection, right? And one of the things he just bought recently was a 22B. So I just want to add that in there.
We're
in the same company.
It is a collectible.
Yeah, we're in the same company and I see it, unlike maybe some unique Aboriginal art, I see the 22B as motor art. Motor art. Yeah, the plan one day is just to have it sitting in the lounge room, maybe some elevator that just sort of...
On one of those rotating, yes. With a light thing over it.
And it's and everyone's going to walk in going, why have you got a Subaru in your lounge room? Hey, that's a 22B, thank you very much. Yeah, so I guess this whole FOMO thing about selling things, and I literally am going through this, I want to live like a poor person phase where I just want to sell things I don't even need. I don't want to accumulate just rubbish around me. That's basically what I'm doing. I want to talk to you about something else, actually. which is leveraging Bitcoin. So one of the things I've actually started to experiment with was actually borrowing against Bitcoin, right? So, and when I say borrow, it's a very, very small amount. So I understand the risk of obviously putting Bitcoin up as securities, the fact that it's now not your Bitcoin. But so what I've done is I've used a company in Australia called Block Earner, and I put in, initially started, I said, look, put in $10,000 and let's borrow against that. So they then send back 40%, which is now $4,000 in cash. And the whole idea behind their business is that you don't have to sell the Bitcoin, right? So if you've got a business, you can use the capital to certain things. Asset. Yes. What I did though is I don't need the cash for my business. What I did is I just took the money out and then sent the money back and then bought another $4,000 worth of Bitcoin. Right.
I see.
So I've now got $14,000 worth of Bitcoin, of which $4,000 is borrowed at 9.5%. I'm like, okay, well, 9.5%. Do I think Bitcoin's going to go up more than 9.5% over the next 12 months? Yes. So I'm just wondering, is that something that you do yourself or you teach about, as in borrowing against Bitcoin and perhaps trying to leverage it that way?
Yeah, we do actually teach about exactly that. So taking a loan where you are your own bank necessarily, and then, using that cash to literally print money out of thin air, which obviously is in Australia at the moment not considered a taxable event because it is in the form of a loan. So then you're sort of expanding your portfolio in a completely different strategy, and it's a numbers game. It's all obviously calculated risk. It's hedging in the future, on certain price performance. So no, I completely agree in that strategy. I haven't personally done that with my Bitcoin at the moment, but you've got me thinking. So,
well, it's basically, how can I grow my Bitcoin, right, without actually, let's say you don't want to sell a property. Let's say you want to keep the property. Maybe you can keep the property, keep the Bitcoin, leverage the Bitcoin, and of course you would own. That's what I say to people: is you would only put up a certain amount. Maybe it's 5-10% of your overall Bitcoin portfolio, because you wouldn't want to put in all of your Bitcoin and leave it with a third party, right?
Correct. That's right. It's a third party risk. Definitely.
Now, just thinking about, you just mentioned before that obviously the power with Bitcoin and borrowing against it is that it's not a taxable event, because selling the Bitcoin would become a taxable event.
Yes. How
do you think about staying within Australia? You've obviously accumulating a mass of assets behind you, not just art and things like that. And how do you navigate, I guess, the Australian taxation system? And more importantly, have you thought about moving overseas? Because a lot of crypto people move to places like Dubai.
Definitely. Actually, Dubai's been on my watch list at the moment, and I'm going through that process.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. We're still on the same
We're on the... We're tapped into the same source here
Except
today.
for the Subaru. You're not thinking about buying a Subaru, are you?
No, not yet. No, I have absolutely. I mean, it's one of those considerations that you have to consider when you start to tick up a large crypto portfolio is tax. I mean, it's sort of painful to think that for every million you cash out, you got to, anywhere from 250,000 to $500,000 of that is just going to go straight out the door to tax. And it's just the reality of the price we pay living here in a country that has one of the highest crypto taxes in the world in terms of how they look at it. So it is definitely a consideration and definitely something I'm looking at the moment, but I haven't sort of taken those shifts. I'm sort of just looking at all my options at the moment. And and then maybe for the next cycle, that will be what happens.
I think the other thing maybe, if I could just say, maybe you're thinking about something I think about, which is I've got children, and it's like...
That's the other thing. It's like schools, lifestyle. And for me, it's like family, people are here, my life is here. So, it's, do we upend life for money, or is the priority family and stability and living in Australia? So is it just the price you pay for now? But then I think about, well, the next time, my daughter, she'll be four years old, and maybe we're going to, go live overseas for a while, move over go spend, 1 to 2 years overseas, remove ourselves as tax residents and see how that maybe goes in the future. So that's always an option. We've got coaches at Digital Wealth Group that they're so wealthy. They're living in places like Georgia and Eastern Europe where, crypto tax is so low, cost of living is so low, and they're doing the same thing, Bitcoin, and they know that there's this long-term game that they're playing. I mean, there's so many memes, about living in a box until you're living in a mansion kind
I saw
of
a guy living in a treehouse the other day on social. He's literally living in a
buying
treehouse.
Currently buying Bitcoin.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to live frugally. I'm living in this treehouse.
Yeah.
And he's buying Bitcoin.
I know. Well, crypto is amazing. I mean, what other asset classes? I was just talking about this last night, and it's like, what other asset class what incredible disruptive technology where we can bank in this way, where we can take a loan against our crypto. We can now increase our crypto holdings by using ourselves as the own bank, engaging with code. I say it's like they say you can't have your cake and eat it too, but in crypto you actually can. You've got your cake, you can eat it, and actually somehow grows even to a bigger cake, that you can keep eating. And I really think that is the opportunity, that is this asset class. And it's for the people. You don't have to have 20 years of investment experience and be able to trade, and just basic numbers and getting in at the right time on the right cryptos, and you can really crack it big time.
Yeah. What I say to people though is, I was just talking to a guy that, funny enough, this morning at the gym. He's a small business owner. I said, I brought up Bitcoin. You maybe saw the B on the hat.
Going with the Bitcoin hat.
the crazy guy with the Bitcoin hat. And he's in small business. He's 28 years old. And he goes, look, I know I've got all these friends who, they do talk about Bitcoin, but I don't have time. And I understand what it's like in Australia, running a small business. It is brutal, right? The easiest thing is actually a 9-to-5 job, right? Walk in, get paid, go home, rest of the time off, right? That's the easy one. And I said, look, what you've got to do is just break it down, right? Is you've got to obviously understand what you're buying into, which is Bitcoin, but just keep it simple. You're not watching the markets every single day to see if you're going to buy and sell, right? You're just going to dollar cost average, which means you're going to put in a certain amount of money every single week or month or fortnight, and then you're going to wake up in 10, 20 years and then see where it's at. That's pretty much your investment strategy. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. Like every single day of the week or every week of the year, we say, be buying Bitcoin, allocating into Bitcoin. It is, you can go on DCA calculators and see if I had started allocating Bitcoin to Bitcoin 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ago.
Don't you hate those?
Even if you started allocating at the top of the market, in the top of the, the 2021 bull market or the 2017, you'd still be up significantly. Ethereum, multiple 100% X returns from DCAing over from one bull market to the next. Just going from the top down and back up to the top. And then I say to parents, if you're looking to give your child, some sort of 21st or 18th birthday present, I said, start now, $50 a week, just $50 a week, $100 a week, whatever it may be, whatever you can afford, until they are 18, 21, and that will be one of the best ROIs, in terms of setting your child up and giving him a foundational investment portfolio.
Well, just on that, we obviously know that you're a huge success within the crypto space, but I know you've also got some clients who perhaps, that you've also educated. Can you share maybe a couple of stories about some people that you've educated and how they've been able to transform their life?
Yeah, most definitely. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. We've got a couple here actually in the Gold Coast. They're in their 80s, so they make the joke that their coach needs to remind them, what they're actually investing in every time they get on a call, because they're getting to that age.
Yeah.
I know. What's this crypto thing again? And I know, but they put about 100,000 into the market, and they were very nervous and very anxious. They've got 8 grandchildren, and in one cycle, just over one cycle, they turned 100,000 Australian dollars into 2.79 million US dollars. They now have generational wealth to give back to their children and grandchildren. They said it has just been, and I love the fact that they, barely know how to plug a Trezor wallet in. They have no financial investing experience, and here they are sitting on a multi-million-dollar, 7-figure crypto portfolio, just like that. And they took that risk. Yes, they put 100 grand up, and they were able to turn it in there. Another thing which I see a lot is single mothers, helping single mothers. There's quite a large following of women, especially from the Women in Crypto group, Crypto Women group. For example, there was a lady that took 11 grand of her super. She then turned that 11 grand into about 150,000 in her first cycle. And that was the first time I'd seen anyone, just like her, she was saying it gave her so much confidence. And she'd never had more than 2 or 3 grand in her bank account. All of a sudden, she's got $150,000 portfolio. She went and bought a car with cash for 30 grand. She gave her children 10 grand each. She felt like on top of her world, and it gave her a completely new lease of life. And whilst, she didn't turn 10 grand into 50 million, 150 grand was just record amounts of money. And then she actually took about $70,000, $80,000 of that and invested it into speculative assets that have the potential to 5-10x this cycle. She might actually crack high 6 figures, maybe even to 7 figures this market. And that is going to be completely life-changing. She wants to buy a home, own her own home. She's rented, worked 2 jobs, things like that. So to me, it gives people choices. It gives people a little bit of hope. And even if it only turns something small into something slightly bigger, it's still an incredible big tip for people. It gives you to see their face light up. It's something that they they've done themselves, they've achieved themselves, and no one can take that away from them. And that's what I love about. That's the real kick from sitting this side of
Yeah, absolutely.
of the screen, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a kick out of seeing other people succeed, and I think, you know, when you do come into a lot of financial success, sometimes material things, although they're good, sometimes they wane. And
they do.
You know, like you get the 7 cars and you're like, oh, okay, what now? And then but I think the big thing, and I think you'll agree with this, is that it's actually seeing other people succeed and you were able to help them do it.
Yeah. Well, it's adding value into people's lives, and the amount of times people ask me and almost grill me, well, we don't believe you because why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you sitting here teaching if you're so wealthy? And I say, well, okay, define what wealthy means. You're sitting on the, you know, down by the pool, you know, you're sort of just chilling, doing nothing. Like for me, my brain is 100,000 ADHD, not ADHD, but like it's 1,000 miles an hour, right? So I always like to create. I write books. You know, I publish my book. I you know, I do courses.
Kung Fu master.
You know, still Kung Fu master. You know, I'm actually currently building an online martial arts school. All of these sorts of things. I have multiple projects.
Online martial arts, amazing.
Project, yeah. Taking all my dad's teachings from the last 50 years of all the knowledge he learnt from these masters that literally could, you know, defy people, like in terms of their power and the way they cultivated energy and what they could do. So many great things in there. So I'm like, this would actually be really fun to do. So I just do what brings me enjoyment: teaching, educating, speaking, giving back to the community, meeting cool people, doing podcasts, chatting with yourself.
Yeah,
these are
podcasts. This is like this is fun. This is not work.
It's fun.
It's like, let's talk about, and we've obviously got some similarities there. Obviously, martial arts is amazing, and we want to sell properties to get more Bitcoin.
I know,
the biggest
Bitcoin.
thing.
I'm going to be looking for statues and plants around the house I can
get
on Marketplace for Bitcoin now.
Exactly. I'm the master at it. Okay, I'm a master on eBay, just selling. You know, I'm going to sell this pen.
We should say, you know, this one thing turned into this much Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? And that
Well,
Bitcoin
I'm
was
going to
worth
tell
this.
you.
So this one little thing.
Yeah. So what I do, because I have a little private community where, and I'm not really doing it for anything more than, I was getting a lot of people asking me about, hey, you've got Bitcoin, you know, how do I self-manage super fund? I was like, I'm just going to put this together, and then you can just come and have a look. So I was repeating it to a lot of people, right? And if they're prepared to come in and actually go through some of the things I talk about, of like who they should look for in the crypto space, what is Bitcoin, what book you should buy, what YouTube channel you should look at, right? And also I do a step-by-step guide of how to set up a self-managed super fund and buy Bitcoin. If they're prepared to come in and do that, then I give them a big tick, right? If they're like, I don't have time to do that, then I just don't really want to bother. Yeah, and anyway, so in this group, I was telling them the other day, I said, look, I had this exercise bike that I was not using anymore because I'm going to the gym, and it's like some 𝗬𝗢𝗧𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗍 thing, and it was, I don't know, I sold it for like $2,000, right, on Gumtree, right? But now I showed him, I said, look, because I don't know if I use this Delta app. You ever Delta app? Basically,
yeah, Delta. I used to use Delta.
Oh, right, yeah.
Delta's great. Yeah.
And look, I'm like, and I keep a note, right? It's like, I sold this exercise bike for $2,000. Now look, it's $4,000 worth. Like, I've doubled my money by selling this stupid exercise bike.
Yeah,
it's little things like that I just get off on, even if it's like $100.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey,
exactly.
You've given up so much of your time today. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. But I just want to touch a little bit more on the Digital Wealth Group. So what's it about? How do people get in touch with you? And, you know, what you offer to people?
Yeah, no problem. So basically, Matthew, we teach people how to get into this space safely through self-custody, setting up diversified portfolios. So if you're a complete beginner, you've never entered this space and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you can jump on and we take you step by step through how to get into this market. If you have more experience in the market and you're looking for consultancy, someone to help scale, or even just have someone to talk to about what is going on with your portfolio, we can certainly help with that. So we offer private one-on-one coaching and online support. We do, you know, guest interviews, masterclasses, Q&As, weekly market updates, all these sorts of things. So you can go to the website, digitalwealthgroup.com.au, and we also have a free training. So if you go to digitalwealthgroup.com.au/free training, there's some free training in there for people if they do like to check out that as well. So that's how to get in touch. And we also have Crypto Women, which is a free Facebook group that, you know, women are welcome to come. You can bring your nana, your daughter,
or
your
even
auntie.
if you're 80.
That's right. Even if you're 80, come and listen. I do like free talks in there. We post up content every day, what's happening in the market, introducing the concept of crypto, sort of breaking down those walls. So yeah, any point, you can also subscribe to Digital Wealth Group just to sort of get some free information on what we do. Yeah, many points to come along and see how to get into this market safely.
That's awesome. And the only thing that I want to do is just help people find out more about Bitcoin and support others like yourself in the Bitcoin space, because I think we can all help each other grow the space. It's going to just benefit everybody.
Sydel Sierra on Instagram or Digital Wealth Group to subscribe and follow our emails. I do email right 2 or 3 times a week out to our subscribers and sort of keep everyone up to date with what's happening. So yeah,
that's awesome. Maybe you could just post up a bit more of the Aston.
Yes, actually, I should just do Aston.
Just more Aston
Martin
photos.
I've never been shy of doing that stuff for some reason. I've never been a big one, but yeah.
You're probably too busy. Because it is another thing to do.
That's true. It's like baby in one hand and crypto portfolio and a live coming up and yeah.
Yeah, Aston Martin's going to have to wait.
I know.
That's so awesome. Sydel, thank you so much. Co-founder of Digital Wealth Group. Really appreciate you coming on the show and look forward to seeing you again another time.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Crypto Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. You can also find more of me at I'm Matthew Fraser on all social media platforms.